everybody. Welcome to today's Ask the Expert webinar. Thank you for joining us on this Friday afternoon. We're really looking forward to getting stuck into this really good, great Microsoft Project Planner and Teams themed session. So let's get stuck in. Just before we begin, just some small housekeeping notes. As always, if you could please just remain on mute throughout the presentation, that would be great. However, if you do have a question anytime throughout, please feel free to raise your hand or just utilise the chat function. We really do encourage your engagement and participation throughout the sessions, just so that we can ensure you can get the most value in this short time frame that we have today. So I'll now pass you on to Ryan, who will take you through all things Planner, Project and Teams. Thanks, Ryan.
Let me just say, yep, I am not on mute. That is fine. Hello, everybody. So my name's Ryan Darby. I know a lot of you on the call, so great to see some of you whose names are recognized popping up there. What we're going to do today is talk about all those other tools you have, and some you have you don't even know you've got. So things like Planner and Teams, and how this relates to tools like Project. There are a few key things that I'm hoping you'll be able to take away from this. One is that there's very much a message around use what you've got. You have a lot of tools, so we can actually use them. Teams itself is more than just what we're doing now, video meetings, which a lot of people still think that's all it really is. There's so much more you can do in there. You can add things to Teams, Sensei apps, Microsoft apps, your own apps. So we're going to look at that a little bit. The thing to remember is everything can be integrated. Some things very easily, some things require a bit more work. But if you focus on what can be done, it's kind of the art of the possible. Don't worry about what's there now, or if you're trying to use a tool, how do I get data from one place to another? These things can be done. That's not difficult for us to do. We're going to look at a few examples of that as we go through today, maybe have a discussion about it. But yeah, if you could come away just remembering that you've got a lot of tools and you can actually use them all together. Okay, so we're going to go through some of those tools. So first of all, we're going to look at the relationship between Outlook and Tasks or Planner. So Planner is now called Tasks. I'm going to talk you through a little bit of the history around that and what that's about. We're then going to look at how Project, good old Project Online, how that actually works in relation to the Planner tasks. These things can very easily be integrated. We're then going to look at some new apps in there. There's a Milestone app. We're going to look at how that works, as well as the overall new tasks experience. We're then going to take it further and really look at the more advanced stuff as approvals. I want to approve a task. I want to approve a document. How's that going to happen? And then we're going to look at all the other work. We're looking at Teams and tasks because it's for the small types of work. What about the BAU work, the operational work, that task that everyone needs the same task, the task that says go and fill in a questionnaire, go and do your timesheet on Friday, this type of thing. How can we automatically create tasks in Teams? So we're going to look at that as well. Okay, so there are some polls along the way here. It's a little bit interactive. The interactive nature of this helps me understand what you're all about, and I can steer things a little bit as we go along here. So on your phone is, well, Alice is going on your phone. Alice is going to put up a poll. And what I want to know is just where you're from. So are you kind of traditional project people? Are you looking at this from an IT tools perspective? Are you using this tool for little things, non-project type stuff? Are you more governance, PMO people? Are you just somewhere else, operational, etc.? So trying to see where you are. So Alice, I'm guessing you'll put the poll up?
Yep, it's already been put up. We've already got some people some answers coming through in the chat.
Okay, that's what I'm not seeing. Let me find the chat. So what I'm doing is I'm looking on my phone over here. So remember, you can use this on your phone as well as you can seamlessly go between these. Okay, so governance and PMO, quite a lot. It's quite a good number there. So 44% from there, the rest really from the project area, and only one person doing the small BAU and operational projects. Well, I don't know who that one person is, but it's all about you. Okay, so we're going to show you hopefully lots of interesting things. Now, a couple more polls. There are only a total of 4. Okay, I promised that. So now the next question is, if I know where you're from, who's actually using what? So specifically around planner slash tasks, who's using it? So are some of you just kind of making it up as you go along, using a random way? Have some of you actually figured out some rules and process and procedure around how to use it so it's consistent? Are some of you like, what's planner? Or seen it, not too keen on this thing yet? Or some of you using something else, and I don't mean project, something similar to planner. Okay, this is a pretty even split. So far, quarter of you using planner randomly, a quarter using it consistently, or the randoms have just pulled ahead to 30% there. 20% you're not so sure about planner yet. Okay. And 26% are using something else. So those of you who are using something else, I'm hoping that I will be able to convince you to come across to the planner side. But you know what? It's actually okay if you don't. And we're going to talk about that in a little while as well, around how things integrate. Okay, so now a lot of you have Project Online. Some of you could have Sensei IQ, which is the new tool beyond Project Online, and happy to talk to you about that later on if you don't have it or you're interested. But we've got to think about, well, why is this guy going on about Planner? I've already got Project Online or Sensei IQ. What do I want Planner for? Like, what's the point of Planner and all these other weird little tools he's going to show me? The point is this. The point is that you have three different areas you need to think about, three kind of aspects to your success. The platform, the digital solution, is just an enabler, and there can be many solutions. They all come together, okay? Now, why do they come together? Because they're supporting a process, and that process is about having an optimized way to work, about having automation. But who's on top? Who's actually following the process, living the process, and using those solutions? Well, it's the people. And the modern thinking around this, the maturity of the industry and of tools and companies like Sensei has been to focus on the people, to get to what we call 100% user adoption. We want to make sure that if you're going to use whatever tool you're going to use, and it's actually okay to use anything, and we can just integrate them, work the way you want, but you need to actually use it. There's no point in having a tool that you end up not using or half using, because that makes those 25% of you from the PMO or however many, the whole bunch of you from the PMO here, how hard is your life if they're only half using the tools? You spend a lot of time redoing reports and things, okay? So you can think beyond forcing everyone into Project Online, because you're thinking about how can I get these people to use the tool they want to use that leads them to 100% adopt that tool. Now, that sounds easy in practice, in theory, wrong way. But what about in reality? What are these tools that are supposedly so easy to use? If you think of your Microsoft ecosystem, and everything I'm talking to you about today, and Sensei always talks to you about, is using what you already have. You already have an investment in all these Microsoft tools, so we just leverage those. So you have things like Office 365, which includes Planner, Teams, SharePoint, Outlook, To Do, all of these things. You probably have things like Power BI already in use. You have things like Power Automate or Flow. You may have various execution tools such as Project Online or whatever one the other ones using, maybe using Sensei IQ. You've got all these. They can all actually be integrated. So you are able to support the people in using whichever tool they want, because it comes to the middle, the center of that circle. It's all acting, and then sort of down into CDS or Dataverse as it's actually called now. All the data is in there. And therefore, using whatever tool you've got, and this is the one takeaway I want you to take away, is that it's okay to use different tools as long as you make sure that they're integrated together. And the reason you would do that is because the people can then use what they want. They're more likely to be engaged and actually use it. Okay, now, do you have to use Planner itself? Well, no, not actually, because as I have just said, you can integrate these things. So this is a Sensei specific slide. The rest of this presentation is not about Sensei specific stuff. I'm just going to show you this as an example. If you are using Project Online and you are using Planner and you are using Jira, say, for agile projects, I'm like, yeah, whatever. 5 years ago, would have tried to convince you to move into Project Online. Now, not so much. Well, not at all. All this comes down, it's all brought into Dataverse or CDS, and everything's integrated. So you can actually use, generally and specifically within the Sensei tools, use any of these tools but have that same project, program, portfolio, strategy layer running on the top. That's the same for everyone. So you get the consistency, but right down underneath, you let the individuals or the teams work the way they want. So we're going to look at a few scenarios now around how these people are actually working. And we're going to start off with the most common one. So let's be honest here. There are two great tools in the world. There is the greatest project management tool in the world, which is Excel, but we're not going to talk about Excel today. And there is the tool that actually you use to run your entire life, and that is email. So we're going to start off this picture with receiving an email from the boss. Okay, the boss has sent us something and said, "Hey Ryan, go do this thing for me." Okay. So what we do is we are going to go to our email. Now, if you see me looking off to the left, it is because I have a script I'm actually following so I don't get lost. So here is email, traditional Outlook. And here is a task that our boss has sent us. The boss wants us to go and create a design document for a marketing campaign, which will one day load up. Okay, so saying, hey, the boss, you're the worker, go and do this thing for me. Now, I don't want to lose this in my email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just flag that. So by flagging it, what's happening in the background is Power Automate is running. Power Automate runs, and it is going to create this for me and actually insert this into Planner for me. So now I've got one place. All those loose emails can be inserted into Planner. So let me go to Planner. Okay. So here we have Planner. We're within Teams and we are within Planner. Now, I have created one earlier on called Plan the Webinar, and there's a channel in there called Planning. It has something called Tasks in it. I will talk a bit more about this as we go through. What you used to see as Planner is now called Tasks. Okay, it's slightly different, but it is there. So by clicking into this, there it is. There's our task. Create a design for the marketing campaign. There's actually one I put in yesterday. So this task is automatically now moved through from the email. So why is this good? Because, well, with a simple flow running in the back end, you can very easily integrate Outlook in over here. You can also, have had a question on this, you can also do this with calendar items as well. Okay, so there's actually quite a bit you can do. Remember, Microsoft and Sensei utilizes this, gives you this back-end capability to have a workflow running and moving things up and down. So it's, if you can imagine how to integrate these things, we can quite easily integrate it for you. Okay, so very easy to actually do. Now, if you update this task over here, you obviously it doesn't flow back to the email because, again, why would you? You know, I want to get this stuff out of my email into one central place. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about what this planner versus tasks thing actually is. So Planner, as we used to know, it's been around for quite a few years now. Very, very huge product from Microsoft, growing. Millions and millions and millions of people use this thing. It is now integrated into Teams, and it's called Tasks, sort of, okay? Or it will be called Tasks. It's actually called Tasks by Planner and To Do. It sounds like one of those fancy like hotels, you know. Now, why is it called Tasks by Planner and To Do? Because what they've done is they've taken Planner and they've taken To Do. Some of you may have used To Do, and pre-To Do it was called Wunderlist. That was something, a personal tool you could use to maybe go buy some bread, go buy some milk, go buy some eggs on the way home, pick the kids up, etc. Personal tasks. That is integrated in, and it is integrated into a team with Planner. It's integrated to Teams. Depending on where you are in the rollout cycle, you may see it called Tasks. You may still see it called Planner. You may see it called Tasks by Planner and To Do. It is over the next few weeks, although I've been saying that for a few weeks, being changed to become Tasks itself. Now, so really there's a name change going on. So eventually it will be Tasks. But if you see any of those, they're all the same thing. They're all Tasks. Now, I said that it is To Do plus Planner equals Tasks, which it is. if you are on the desktop Teams app. If you are on a mobile or you are on the web app, not quite there yet. Okay, so there you find the to-do part isn't coming in yet. Now, if you have, this is rolling forward slowly. Some phones may have it already, okay? So just keep checking. This stuff is changing all the time. And even I was preparing this demo a few days ago. Things have changed in the last few days, actually. So this is moving ahead quite nicely. Okay, now, for those of you who are using Planner, and just before you start getting bored with all the polls, we are going to go and look at the new tasks in like a second, okay? We're going to have just one more little poll here. And what I'm after here is how you're actually using it. So big projects, small projects, is it part of what you formally do? Is it something that you sort of supplement the big projects with? Are you just using for everything? Like that's the only tool you use? Okay, so half of you are saying it's up to individuals to use it. A few people formally for small projects, which I think is actually great, actually. About a fifth of you, it's changing, 12% informally for small projects, 12% is something on the side for the big projects, and 4% of you saying it's for all the projects. All of these are valid responses. And it's again, it comes to work the way you want, and it's up to us to actually integrate that. So the winner there is essentially it's up to individuals to use however. Now, that's 53% of people saying that. That's quite a high number. It is, if once you start integrating, you need to formalize that a bit so that people are using it with purpose as such. But let's actually look at some options around how to do that, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this new tasks concept. So I'm going to go to my browser, and here we are, and here is, we're in Teams, we are in the tasks tab, okay? Now, when you set this up, you'll find it creates a planning channel for you, specifically for managing projects. It puts in, obviously, your files, your posts. It puts in OneNote, which it now calls planning notes, and it puts in tasks. This looks like Planner, doesn't it? It's standard Planner. Again, we've got all the usual stuff. We've got our list there. We've got our board. We've got our charts. Nothing's changed. So if we, though, go to our desktop app itself, there is a little icon. Mine still says Taskbar Planner and To Do, so I'm going to actually hit that. Now we're in the integrated, the new version, okay, which brings through tasks and To Do. All it actually does is give you kind of access to both. You'll find that it still works. Look, there's a list, there's a board, there's chart, there's schedule. So all that is still actually there as it was, okay? There are a few things that it's made a bit easier. So for example, I don't have to click, I don't have to drag. I've got things like ellipses where I can just go and set quickly. I don't have to go into the tasks themselves. I quickly actually change these. If I do go into one, you'll see, look, it's Planner. It looks exactly like Planner. Had a couple of questions around how can you add additional fields onto this. You actually can't on here. Sensei has got a tool that you can do this on, but on this particular one, you can't. What they've added is filtering. So, I can see, show me just the important tasks, for example. Show me all the tasks, etc. So you can go and look at change it somewhat through your filtering. So generally, the tool is pretty much the same type of tool as it was. You just have the more integrated experience between To Do and Planner. And there are a few other things we're going to look at as we go along. So there's more here than simply just tasks, okay? Now, before I go into that, I'm going to hit you with one last poll. Promise it's the last one. Those of you who are not using Planner, why not? It's not a bad tool. All the cool kids are using it. Okay, so a bunch of people haven't really discovered it yet. Too simple, yeah. And a few say you've already got things like project. A few of you coming up with can't integrate it, which is kind of the same as you can't report on it. You'll discover that soon. 35%, 38% haven't really discovered it yet. So I'm hoping, up to, we'll say 6% now, I'm hoping that through today you will have discovered what can actually be done here somewhat. For those of you looking at it from an integration or reporting perspective, we can actually do this. So Sensei is able to bring Planner into our overall Sensei IQ solution. You can actually get stuff in, you can do reporting on it. You just don't do it like on day one from when you install it. You've got to use someone like us that does a bit of clever work to allow that to actually happen. Okay, so we've got kind of an even, most people, the majority, 37%, haven't really discovered it. Then there's sort of an even split between the rest. Okay, so for those of you who haven't discovered it, I'm hoping that what you have seen today, or what you will be seeing today, gives you a bit of hope that there's some cool stuff there it's worth investigating. Now let's look at one of those cool things. One of these cool things is what we call milestones. Now, Milestones is an add-in app from Microsoft. So let me just go to my team. Here's one I created earlier, communications team. And on this, we have the general channel. And here we have an app called Milestones. So you'll see for this one, I don't have tasks added in here, not in over there. I've got tasks sitting in planning there. But for this, I'm going to stay on this one. I'm going to go to Milestones. And what's loading up is what Microsoft calls a template app. So the takeaway for you here is you could use this. You could use some other app. Like Sensei actually has a Teams app. So our products work inside Teams natively, kind of like this is, but think of the Sensei tools inside here. So if you, the point is, if you are using Teams all day, every day, like I am, why go somewhere else? Why not do everything in Teams? Why not run all the other apps inside Teams? Okay, so you can do that. Now, if you specifically need to use the milestones, let me show you what this is. It's not the same as tasks. It's not the same as plan. It's a separate app. It is a very simple little app, but it's actually quite nice. It stores its data in the Dataverse, so you can actually get it. It's in the Teams version of the Dataverse. Okay, so it's a little bit separate, but it is possible to get hold of this data. What we have here is we can create projects. So I've got 2 projects over here. Let's go to this one, lots of milestones in it. This one is the demo one out the box. You can create milestones. So these are milestones that run along the top. And these little squares here show me where we are, so that the colors indicate not started all the way through to green as you're done. You don't want to be this pink color because that means you're late. They're telling you how many subtasks or work items that fall underneath the milestone you're actually dealing with. So I can go to create myself a new project. We're going to call this our webinar project. I can give it I can go and create a bunch of milestones. So it starts off with 3 by default. So we're going to sort of plan it, invite people, create the presentation. Okay. I could go and create some new ones. I can then go and add different members. Who have we got in here? We've got Alice. No, we don't have Alice. We've got Alicia. We'll add her in. Okay, so we've got some people. We add to this project and then we create it. So what we've got here is a project that has 3 milestones in it. We then break those down by creating sub items underneath. So I could say, well, one of the items is to plan the marketing message, for example, and I want that. I'll assign it to, I'm logged on a system administrator, and I can associate that to a milestone. And remember those little colors along the top? I'll say this one is in progress. I can select a category. Now this is interesting in that you can create additional fields. So remember in Planner I said you couldn't. Over here you can. So you want to change the values of the category. Let's make that, I don't know, training. Yes, you can. And you want to add another field called something else, called type or size or something. You can do that. So let's say it's priority 4. Okay. So this one, you can easily create additional fields. So by creating that, I've now got a work item sitting underneath this milestone. There's one, you see I put it into the in progress. So there is our one sitting there. As I go through, this is quite simple. When you're done, you tick it, it marks it off. So for those of you who need a very simple way to just tick tasks off, this is a way to actually do it. Remember I said you can go and change it. There's a configuration area where you can change values. So if I don't want to have the development category, I can call it something else. But you can also change the fields themselves, the look of the form. All this is open. So if you remember that picture I used right in the beginning over here, the whole point to all this is, in this case, it's using Power Apps. It stores all the data in the database. So everything we do, we make sure that we use these common, out-of-the-box Microsoft tools, because they do all actually talk to each other, okay, which is kind of the key thing, because then it's more up to your imagination than it is anything else to be able to integrate and use these things together. Okay, now, so while you're kind of thinking about the art of the possible there, let's think about what happens with all these tasks we've been creating. Like, are we supposed to do these tasks just because, you know, the boss sent me an email? Well, I guess the boss is the boss, but someone sent me an email and said, hey, go and do this task. Or I went in and, you know, I created something as a milestone, or I created something in tasks or planner. Am I supposed to do it? And while I'm doing it, you know, while I'm listening to this Ryan guy go and he's telling me to go into Teams and only work in Teams, what about all my documents and all the other things sitting on the outside? How do I get those managed in a more formal way? Specifically, how do I get approvals? Okay. Now, there are a couple of different ways to do the approvals. Obviously, if you're using things like, you know, Empower PPM, our Project Online tool, or you were using if you were using Sensei IQ, you are able to use Power Automate in the back end. For all this, you can use Power Automate, but there is actually a built-in approvals app here as well. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on the left over here in Teams.
So Ryan, just quickly to butt in before we move on, we just had a question come through in the chat from Ben. So he just had a question around, is the milestones customization done on a per user or a per organization level?
The answer is both. None of it's per user. It's on a per team level. If you are creating, it depends on what you let them do. Okay, let's assume you leave it open the way it is on the screen now. People can create their own categories in there, but the actual customization is done on an organizational level. So that app itself is the organization's app. Within that, you may give them the ability to do some customization, such as change, you know, what their categories are, but you also may not do that. Depends on how you actually do it. But the overall app is an organizational level one. Out the box, it is possible to do the out-of-the-box customization on a per team level, but it's overall, it is an organization deployed app. Okay, so approvals. Now, a couple of things with approvals. One of them is that, so what this is, it's approvals. It's about requesting an approval and getting an approval on something. When you look at approvals, you need to think widely. You can do it in here. You could also do it in something like more embedded in a process, like within Sensei IQ, where I'm working on a change. I want an approval directly on the change. So it needs to be thought of a bit more widely, but there is an app to get you started. There is also, remember, behind the scenes, Power Automate that's used as the power behind all the stuff anyway. Okay, and we can always help you with that. So remember, the message here is integrate everything. Always integrate everything. Think of it in an integrated way, so it's part of a seamless process. So before you all go and install the approvals app, just realize you You may be creating something on the side. We're like, well, hang on, I want approvals, but I actually want approvals inside of my process. Okay. Marek, you've just asked about licensing. Well, that you essentially need a Power Apps license because that is a Power App. And in your case, you probably don't have a Power App license. So the Milestones app is actually a Power App. So you will need a license for Power Apps. Okay, so approvals. Now, what's cool about approvals is it works across different environments. So I've actually got 4 different environments running over here. You could have one, essentially it's like 2 different organizations almost, and you can have approvals running between them. Okay, you can, so all within a tenant, obviously. You can go in, and it's not a logical thing to do, but you could have an approval running from the test environment to the production environment. I wouldn't do that, but you could. Okay, so it is actually quite a wide-reaching thing, which is quite nice. Now, the approvals can be used for just getting an approval or for getting documents approved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hit, I want a new approval done. Now, this is something very new. I can get a normal approval, or I can get an e-signature. The e-signature is like new. Like this came out about a day and a half ago. So this is what it looks like. It pops up, it uses the Adobe e-signature, and you can then sign that. It's actually got a nice formal signature embedded within that, which I think is actually very useful and very cool. I'm going to leave it as a basic one for now. I can go in, I can give it a name. So we're going to say approve my webinar. So I'm going to send it to myself because I am in here. I could send it to more people, and then I could say, if I want to add another person in, I could then tick and say, I want all of them to approve. And if I go down, I can actually say, well, is this going to be a simple yes? You find what it does, it's like approve, reject. Okay, it's like yes, no. Or I want to change this a little bit. I want to actually change some of my options, which is quite nice. So I can go and modify it. And here is, I spoke about other environments. If I do actually want to send that through to another environment, I can send it off somewhere else. I'm actually in the Contoso, that is a demo environment now, but most of what I've been doing is in that environment. So I'm going to leave that just where it is, and I won't do any custom ones at this point either. So now I'm going to hit send. This now goes off. So what happens in the backend? The very first time this is run, it actually creates, for those of you who are technical, it creates what's called a solution in the backend. So it builds itself. It builds up the data structure. It sticks it into CDS or into the Dataverse. So this stuff is all completely available to report, to link into bigger tools and things. If you need this type of stuff linked into your project tool, etc., well, it's there. Okay, this is a very easy thing to just do. Kind of stuff we do is our bread and butter all the time. Okay, so it builds all the stuff up the first time. We can see where there's that one. Now, as that comes through, it's in the sent. Let's go to received. Is it here yet? There it is. Okay, so that has actually come through. So I can look at it. I could go into it, and I can say, well, there it is. Now, what's nice is, depending on how many people you've got involved, you see a change. So you can see where it is, who isn't, responding to it yet. Move that, and then we could obviously kill it or reject it or approve it. And these are what can change if you set the customization instead. So I'm going to say approve. So this will now go back and it's approved. We've got a record. Now, if I'd used the e-signature one, which I just didn't do today because I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, you could use a electronic signature and that would then be attached. Either way, it knows who I am. I'm logged on. This is now written away. I've had a look in the back into the database. A very clean data structure, actually. It's written away, the history, who's approved it, when, etc. So you've got all of that. Now, one thing that I forgot to do, I was actually going to show you, was you can attach a document. So you can attach a document to that approval, so I can get a document approval there as well. Now, is this the best place to do a document approval? Maybe. I personally would rather do it from within the document library. And within the document library, remember, if using a Sensei tool at least, you have Power Automate in there, and you can run it directly from the document. But let's look at slightly less formal ways to actually do it. Okay, so what about if I'm just in a chat? So I'm busy talking to people, I'm using Teams, I'm in my general tab. Look at these over here. So here, there's that approval. So what it will do as well is it will go and stick this into Teams. So you can see it pop up in there. So you do not have to go off to the Teams app to look to see what you've got to approve. It comes through into Teams. Here's one that had a document attached. What I'm going to do is just show you how right from within here, there's a little approvals, that little, looks like a, I don't know, an arrow with a tick inside it. And here it is. I'll just send it to myself again. There we go, add attachment. So I'm just going to upload from one that I prepared earlier from my computer. I want a design brief. There, project idea. I want the project idea to be done. Okay. Now what you will have seen is it's actually detected that I've used that one before. It does not like that one. So this actually stores it before anyone asks in, let's see if I can use that one. It stores it, so it's uploading it. It stores it in your own OneDrive actually. Okay, so let's send that off. So now the approval gets sent off and it is within the conversation over here. It will refresh. There it is. We've got the notification. I've seen it in here. I can look at it. I can obviously open the document. I can go and view the details, or I can say approve or reject. I'll just approve that right from within Teams. So it's part of that conversational flow. And there we get it. It's giving me the notification. So you see the little bell goes off all the time. It actually tells me, hey, you've got one you need to approve, and one has been approved. So approvals, pretty cool. E-signatures rolling out to a Teams near you very, very shortly. They started bringing this out a couple of weeks ago. I received it yesterday, like the night before. You may, if you start using this, get it pretty soon. Okay, now let's slow it down a little bit. Let's look at, we've got two more things to go through. One is integration with Project Online, and the last is a very cool thing around publishing bulk tasks out to lots of people. So Project Online, I'm going to go through fairly quickly. So those of you who are using Project Online, which is a fair number of you, and those of you using Sensei IQ, it's even easier in Sensei IQ, okay, so like really easy. And actually by easy, I mean built in as part of the tool. For those of you using Project Online, can you get a task from Project Online to Planner? So some of you, if I look at the stats over there, those of you using it on the side, I can't remember the number, but it was like a whole bunch of you, like about a fifth of you or so are using this on the side, okay? Now, using Planner to supplement the project, or effectively using it as a nicer interface and having the project manager do the work in MS Project. That's okay. So again, let people use the tool they want to use. We just build automation in, we build integration in, and we use Power Automate to do it. You've got it, it's out of the box, so let's use it. So what we're going to show you, when a task is created, it goes through, it finds the groups you belong to, and it says, okay, that task is part of a project's associated with a group. Has that group got a planner associated with it? If so, let me write something into it. And you can control the bucket it goes into and all of these things, okay?
Sorry, Ryan, can I just jump in again?
Yeah.
You just had another question in the chat. So can you see anywhere in OneDrive the attributes or metadata that the document has been approved? So just in relation to what you're just talking about. for approvals?
Marek, you know what? I haven't looked yet. So I don't actually know because I just haven't looked into that deep yet. So your other question was around document versions. You know what? Good question. I'm going to play with that. I don't know yet. So haven't looked at it. I would say though, yeah, in Dataverse there's a lot of data related to it. I haven't gone looking for the document data specifically. Like, does it do anything in there, or does it keep all that with the document itself, where it stores the document? We'll have a look. We'll include it. Alice is going to send some like questions and replies back to all of you. So we will have a look. I'll have a look, and I will get back to you on that one. Okay, now, so what I'm going to show you is this concept of Project Online. So here it is. This is Project Online, as we've all known it for many, many years. And here is a schedule. So I'm going to go and I'm going to edit this, which checks it out, which, by the way, is, oh crap. And let me go and, you see all these things timing, it's too hard. Okay, if you want an easier experience, seriously, talk to me about using Sensei IQ, because you don't need to check out, check in, publish, all of these things. Okay, it's just too much effort. So I'm going to go and create a new task here. This is my webinar task. So I've created a task. I'm going to publish that because that's what you've got to do. In the new versions, none of this published stuff. No queue, nothing gets stuck. It's all quick, it's instant, it's great. Okay, so I've now published that. I'm going to check it in because this 1940s technology means I have to. That's okay though. So I think you'll get the message. I'm inviting you to come and talk to me about things that are much easier to use. But you see, we have created a task. Okay. Now, what we want to do, so this task, specifically, where are we? We were part of the Automated Sensor System project. There's our task, the webinar task. This project has a group behind it called the Automated Sensor System Group. And if I go to Teams, there it is. There's the Automated Sensor System team, which is associated to the group. Okay, there's the general channel. If I now refresh this, my webinar task will hopefully be there about now. Now, wait for it. Something gets to go wrong in every demo, okay? You see those three, they were actually built in earlier days to actually test all this out. So why is this not working? So it may just take a little bit for the flow to run. No. Okay, anyway, you can see there is some evidence, those three that actually exist. Some of you may have seen them in the schedule before, so they're actually in there. All that this simply does is it looks up if you create tasks in MS Project, it will, in Project Online, of course, it will then bring it through into Planner. Now you can do the same type of thing with because it's different, but because it's integrated with Sensei IQ. But this way, actually, I want this to work, so I want to refresh this again. There is a fairly simple little flow that brings us through for you. There it is, webinar task. Okay. So we've now got our task, so we can go and we can work away and we can update this. Now, before someone asks it, the question is, what about going in the other direction? Possible, a little bit trickier to actually do, but it's more of a process thing. It's not so easy to mess a planner up if I just send a task there. People see it, they'll drag it to where they want. Schedules are usually a bit more advanced in terms of logic they're modeling, so you need to watch out if you do send updates back, just because it's technically possible. Does that scheduler want their schedule being automatically updated by you? You just need to make sure everyone's okay with that before you look at doing that type of thing. So there had been a couple of questions before the session around, can you integrate Project Online to Planner? Yes, you can, based on what I've just shown you. Very easy to actually do. And as I said, in Sensei IQ, the Planner integration is a built-in thing as part of that. Okay, now, what about all these the other types of tasks. All the tasks we've been looking at is sort of actually fitting in with, what most of you were saying in terms of the survey responses. About 40–50% of you were saying that people are kind of just doing their own thing. It's a bit ad hoc within Planner. What if we use Planner and we say that, okay, go for it, use it, but there's certain tasks that I would like you all to do. So I need some way of giving everyone the same set of tasks. So do your own thing in addition to these 5 tasks that an entire area, like all the IT department is going to get these 5 tasks, or the whole company is going to get the same set of tasks. So how do we do that? Well, we start off in our browser again, and sorry, I'm not in the right one. We start off over here. We go to tasks. So we're not inside a team here. We want to be above the teams because I want to send the same task to many teams. Okay. Now what I have is a hierarchy that's been built in over here. So I'm actually able to see, if I look at this, I've got a company that I've imaginatively called the platform company. It has two nodes, essentially, like branches in an org structure, and each of them has 2 teams. So I can create relationships between teams. Now, why do I create relationships between teams? The reason is that I can choose who I'm going to send tasks to, okay? Now, when I do send a task, I get this type of thing coming back. I can actually start seeing, I've already sent some tasks already when I set this up. I can see, like, overall, 25% of those tasks have been done. They've actually, because these platform first line people, they did all their tasks. The E-Team 2, Spotlight, and the platform IT, they've done nothing. Okay, so they're sitting at 0. So overall, we are sitting on 25% there. So what we want to actually do is create ourselves a new bunch of tasks. Remember, we're in tasks itself. One thing you can do, like we've done over here, is create lists. So I'm actually going to go here. I'm going to create a list. I'm going to say, okay, let's give this a name. These are the regulatory auditing tasks. Let's make it sound all official. We can choose where we are publishing it from. Now, my hierarchy starts at the top. There's only one node at the top in mine called the platform company. You can actually have different trees. So you could pick which tree you're going to use as the parent to send all these tasks out from. So I've created a list. And now I can add tasks to that list. So the scenario is we've got someone sitting on the top who has said, we've got a whole bunch of legally regulatory tasks. Everyone must go and do these tasks. So you must complete the audit questions. Okay, I can go and create a whole bunch of tasks. I can choose what bucket these go into. These buckets are actually defined as part of the hierarchy that I set up. So when I created this relationship between teams, I can also define standard buckets. So this almost becomes, in a way, like a templated way to start setting teams up. Okay, and then I'm going to now create that task. So it's now there. I'm only going to create the one task. There's our task. So but obviously you could create a whole bunch of them. You create a list. The point is you create a list of tasks and you push that whole lot out. When you are ready, you can publish this. Okay, so when you're actually ready, you do it. Now, when you publish, you do need the teams in place first, obviously. You don't need the buckets. If you've got a team, but you don't, and it finds the team, and you have tasks in that team, as in you've got Planner in that team, it will go and shove this task inside there. If you do not have a bucket called on-site, which I've got, it's going to create that bucket for you. So you can essentially push out some standardization to everyone. So let's hit publish. Alan's just asked a question while this comes up. Can you add externals? There is a level of external access that you can actually allow people in there. Okay, so this is actually becoming quite good from Microsoft. Okay, so what pops up here? You can choose who you want to send it to. So here is our whole our hierarchy of teams. I'm just going to send it all. I want the whole company to get this. I may choose just one department. Now, let's say you have lots of, so some of you are going to look at this thinking, yeah, but who's got 4 teams? I mean, we hardly use it, and we've got 4,000 teams. That's okay. That's why you have filters. So when you set up this hierarchy of teams, you also set up metadata on the teams. So effectively, in the back end, you're designing out your team structure. And you could say, only want to see the large teams, or I want to see different teams from different departments, or teams that relate to different types of work, etc. So you can filter that down. Then you hit next. It then says, hey, take a last look here. You are going to send one task to 4 teams. So if it says 4,000, like, well, don't spam it, everyone. When you're ready, you click there and you hit publish. So it's publishing, it's thinking, the hamster's running around the wheel. Okay, so what it's done is it's now published that out. So what I'm looking at is what's being published. So all these on the left here, those are the published ones that have been sent out. So here's one from earlier. So these are all different ones that I've sent. Now, where does this go? Well, obviously it's published to the teams themselves. So if I go to the team, and I'm going to go to this e-team one, and I go off to my planning. So there's tasks, so new, so I only put it in yesterday. And there it is, complete the audit questions. So we can actually see those are the ones I had published earlier, and this is this. Now everyone else, and you see the on-site bucket, it actually created that for me. So everyone else can obviously go and create all their own tasks and do their own things, but you can inject tasks in as you need to for everyone. Okay, so to sum it up, you've got lots of tools. You can use them. You do need to think about how they integrate, but they can integrate. So let people work the way they want, be sensible about it, think about how they're going to tie it together, talk to us, we can help you integrate them. Most of these new tools can integrate together. Some of them are a little off the wall in that Planner has got some challenges around integration and reporting, definitely challenges. These things can be overcome. As you just saw, I integrated project. I did that myself. I'm not going to call myself a technical person. I did that myself in about 30 minutes. So, creating integration between these things is possible. We've just got to think through how we do it. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the formal proceedings. I'm going to give it to Alice and ask if any questions.
Yeah, just quickly, in addition to the My Task list, where we currently see the planner and the to-do, which is awesome. I just came off a call this morning from the Microsoft team, from the project Microsoft team. Now, on their roadmap, as one of the next items is that under My Task, they will also be able to display the tasks that you manage in project for the web. So I thought that's definitely worth mentioning because it's very cool. Yeah, so it becomes that that one task that manages everything, one task place for the individual. So yeah, watch that space. I'm sure they've got it on the roadmap. I'm sure it's maybe 1 or 2 months out, but they definitely extend that capability, right? Which is awesome.
Yeah, so that's Mark Sester, whose voice you've just heard over there. He is executive director, founder of the company, and part of the vision team, which is what I'm part of. So we get to look at cool stuff, okay, like this, new things. So we're talking about these tasks that we've been looking at today. To do, I've spoken about. Project for the web is coming in here as well. So again, as I said, use common technology. They use common stores of data mostly, and even if they don't, they have common workflow running between them. If you're using this, you may be using Sensei's tool. We integrate all this integration that Microsoft's doing. We do it anyway. We've been doing it for a while. Now, you can blur or blend all these things together. It's not a one or the other. It's what is best for you. And let's use the tools you've already got and actually integrate these things. Okay, anyone got any other questions?
That's great. Thanks, Ryan. Just if people want to pop them in the chat, or we also have a link through to a form that you can pop them through. And as Ryan said, we'll include all those questions and answers in a follow-out next week. So we've got one which has come through from Pablo. How do you project and planner integration in a few ways?
So the way this was done was using Flow.
Power Automate.
Power Automate. Hey, I was using it before it was cool, and we used to call it Flow. No, it's Power Automate. So within Power Automate, in this case, we have a Cloudflow, and here is there's the one, the one with the email, where the email was flagged. There's a flow for that, and here is one for the moving the tasks up and down. So essentially, technically, as I said, that how do you do it? You do it using the tools you've got, and you actually all have these awesome integration tools. Come and talk to us, and we can help you bring these things alive.
Thanks, Ryan. We also just had a question, pre-submitted question as well. So is it possible to create a central view when there are several planners on different channels and teams?
So so if you want a central way to bring everything in together. So I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to show you how. I realize we are running out of time. So if I look at this, so here you are looking at a Sensei tool specifically. This thing is a Power App. There are a bunch of tasks over here. I don't know what, they're just my open tasks. I don't actually know where these things have come from, what tool they've actually come from. Now, if I look over here, see it's secure, it makes me sign in. What you're going to see is a list of tasks, and next to them is a little icon of the tool they actually come from. So here we have, look at that, this IQ, this is a Sensei built scheduling tool. That you'll recognize as Project Online. That down there is a project for the web. I don't know if there are any in here, but Jira, DevOps, don't see any on that one, but Jira, DevOps, planners coming, all these things. So yes, you can, here you have all the tasks, one place, click on the link, it will take you through to that task, and then you can go and update that. Okay, Alice, in the last minute, any other questions?
That's great, Ryan. A couple more. Oh, we've got one that came through the chat again. Can I update a task in Planner and see that update on Project Online?
With somewhat more complicated Flow you can, or Power Automate you can, but you really need to think about if you want to do that. Updating a schedule, if it's your schedule, it's okay, but lots and lots of people are now updating your schedule through Planner. That could annoy you. So you need to make sure that from a process perspective, you think that's a good idea. So just because you can technically do it doesn't mean, if you want to do it.
Great, thanks, Ryan. We might wrap it up there just for questions now. Well, as we said, if you have any further questions, please just send them through to us and we'll send them all out to you guys early next week. Thank you for attending today. You will receive a link to the recording as always as well. Our next Ask the Expert session is just 3 weeks away, so which is where we'll have Mark talk all things user adoption when it comes to introducing your project management solution. So be sure to save your seat and join us in 3 weeks' time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Well done, Ryan. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.